Good morning and welcome to another cannot miss super show here on WMRC Studios with Sal Santori, Saturday morning live at 11. And our guest this morning is Mr. Luke Predmore, who is a co founder and CEO of Valor in Kansas City, Missouri, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Um, and we'll visit with Luke here in a minute, and we'll be talking about the things that Valor is able to do and the resources they have for our veterans and families. And we want to definitely hammer home the fact that the location is totally irrelevant because what they do is they have a lot of virtual services. In fact, I believe, and Luke can confirm this a little later, I believe they are based on virtual capabilities, which is great because it enables anyone anywhere for services. There's no geographical boundaries. So before we get too deep into the show, what I'd like to do is just mention that Dave and Ray from Veterans Promise are actually, as we speak, engaged in what they do with helping veterans and families. A need has arisen, and they're answering the call. So we want to definitely wish them well and send some prayers to the families that they may be helping. I don't have details. I don't know very much about it other than the fact that they are answering a call. So we definitely want to send them some prayers and some strength. And also for Miss Dawn Blouch. Let me correct myself. I constantly mispronounce names, and she's been so kind as to not like chastise me too hard about that. But Dawn has taken ill this morning, and evidently it's of a very serious nature. So we want to keep her in prayer and wishes. Um, it's certainly not something we want to have uh, visit. So, Dawn, we wish you well and hope for a speedy recovery. And what we're going to talk about today is we're going to reinforce um, the the problems. We're going to spend a little bit of time just highlighting and reinforcing the problems of the current reintegration system and process as it exists now. Um, and as it existed when I was in and when I ETS'd, which was 1982. Yeah, I'm a dinosaur. We actually had wars and military back then, so
Right.
but
Times have
the
changed so much.
yeah. Technologies technologies like taken over the military and transformed it into uh, a whole new beast, which generationally it does. I mean, everything changes. World War One, two,
Yeah.
Korea, Vietnam. There's always improvements, um, and some of the things unfortunately have not kept pace, and reintegration is one of them. Um, and the fact that there is not much at all as far as reintegration is concerned is really the problem. There's not much offered. There was not in 1982. There was not in 1975 when we ended the Vietnam War. Um, nothing has changed. There's been a lot of propaganda. There's been a lot of hype. There's been a lot of bullshit. But the reality is, change has not happened. And Luke, tell us from a very much updated perspective, what was your ETS like?
So ETS was, it's pretty much the same as sounds like it was for you guys. So when we went through, it was, a whole lot of, hey, you're going to be getting out here at some point. We got orders waiting. So you're just standing by for months. And then whenever they do say, all right, here's your paperwork, you got a couple weeks, and here's some classes you have to go to. So you go to these mandatory reintegration classes that they've got. But it's not, you don't really see much in it, to be honest. You're going through, there's no purpose. The people that are doing the classes don't, you can tell they are checked out. They don't really care. They're just doing it because, all right, here's, we have to do this, right? We have to say we did. Here's some resources that are out there. Go get them if you need them. But then the problem ends up being that they tell you to basically not get any of that help for anything while you're still in. Just wait until you leave.
Okay, let's focus on that for a bit, because that's huge. That's like the problem in itself.
Right.
Next to the fact that they're not offering anything while you're in, but the fact that they're saying don't begin until you're home. That's huge, and let's focus on that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I know for myself what I saw, and I've seen several other people that like, man, when you're going through this, especially when you're going through medical, don't tell them you got any issues. Because like, if you tell them, if you say, hey, I've got pain in my back, I've got pain in my knees, whatever it is, that's going to delay your ETS. It's going to delay how long you're in, because they're going to have to go through all this stuff to get you cleared. So if you want it to get through this quick, just say you're good. Then you can go to the VA afterwards to get care. And yes, that's true. But then the problem is, as you know, and so many vets have come to realize, is then they get out, they go to the VA, and they say, hey, I've got these issues. And the VA is going to say, all right, well, man, you said this wasn't a problem. You said you were good.
Yeah. So it creates a whole new problem in qualifying for VA benefits.
Yes.
What a
100%.
catch-22. The DOD is hell-bent on denying benefits because it costs money. They have a ton of money. They just don't want to part with it. Okay.
Yeah. Not for some things.
Right. Hell, it was 2014 before the DOD actually acknowledged PTSD as a reality.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's well, we'll chalk it up to shell shock and a whole host of other like imaginary conditions, and yeah, finally 2014 it was acknowledged that it truly exists, and it was actually an issue to be taken up to get discharges upgraded.
Right.
It actually became a valid issue, but yeah, not to stay on that for too long.
Yep.
But it just fits into the whole pattern of let's use you on the battlefield, let's use you up, and on your way out, first of all, while you're leaving, we've got nothing more for you, and second of all, keep your mouth shut till you get out. That way, it's not going to raise too many issues, and the DOD really won't be on the hook for anything. So when you do get out and you want to revisit the issues that have come to rest upon you, well, the DOD is saying, all right, now prove your case. And then beyond that, it's like, okay, well, prove it actually happened during combat.
Right. It's exactly the truth there. And it's, I think the reintegration stuff, it's so, what's such a big deal with that is when I was in, and you, I'm sure it's the exact same way when you were, man, you're not allowed to make really decisions for yourself of any kind. Doesn't matter how big, small, especially if you're a combat arms MOS, man, like it's not just, hey, you're not required to make decisions. You will get punished oftentimes for making any kind of decision on your own.
Right.
So you're not people that, right.
That old phrase, you're not paid to think, and that's above your pay grade. And that's actually a two-edged sword. On the positive part of that is it keeps things regimented in a way that everything is automatic. So you're not going to be caught. You're not going to be caught flat-footed. Okay. And beyond that, you're not going to put your fellow soldiers at risk because you're flat-footed at the moment. Everything is indoctrined and you react, you continue, and it's successful in that regard. However, exactly what you're saying, the extended version of that is, okay, now what?
Right. How do we change that when you get out? Because then you got all these people that are incredibly highly functional in that realm, in that environment. But then you put them out in a situation, regular life, where now they have to make all their decisions. But they
Right.
have to make every little thing. And man, it gets to a point where it's just so overwhelming. And I think that's a big part of why we see so much veteran homelessness is you get people who are, they can't even put a finger on it, but they are terrified internally of making decisions because of the implications that that has made in the past. Like, oh, you make your own decision, you do your own thing, and now people die. And when
Right.
you get
Who
that
are
in
you
your
to
head,
say?
right? When that's in your head, it's like, oh man, what if I pick the wrong thing? And you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna sit here until someone tells me what to do. And
Right.
if we don't take time to retrain people to do that, I mean, I think about in healthcare and physical therapy, you see people that will go into a rehab place. Hey, we're gonna do stuff for you for a while, but then you need to start doing this on your own. You need to start getting by doing all this stuff before you go home to show that you can to get back used to doing that. And we don't do that with the military. It's just,
No,
yeah,
the
follow, follow,
military,
follow. Then you're out on your own.
right? Follow me. I'm the infantry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you got that. And then also looking at how do they find value in themselves? Because as we've discussed on the last podcast here, man, you are your entire function. That is your only value in this world. So
Mhm.
when we get out, man, what do you do? How do you find that value and that purpose where you feel like you have any meaning whatsoever? And there's nothing being done to address that. And that's huge.
The military, I couldn't agree with you more. You're so right on point. Um, and the military is such a cocoon of an environment. There
Yeah.
while while I was in the military, there was want for nothing. It was our own environment, everything, medical, food, clothing, travel. Everything under the sun is included in the military cocoon. Okay, and accessing those resources is, again, you have sick call in the morning. Um, there's all kinds of ways to access without much forethought the resources that are in the military. And exactly what you're saying. Okay, we walk through that threshold back into the civilian world, and it's like, whoa, none of that exists. None of
Yeah.
that exists. And exactly what you're saying, my mission no longer exists. In fact, if I follow my training, I'm going to jail.
Right. It's
I'm
different if
going
you've got a job that translates. You know, if you're a mechanic or if you're even in um I don't know,
admin.
any kind of admin, any kind of jobs where, hey, I've developed a skill where when I get out, I can use this. But I remember, I'll never forget when I was sitting there in there's a course I was doing, like a reintegration thing where they were talking about doing resumes and all this. And
Talking,
the lady was like, "What's that?"
what I missed what you had said. They're talking
Oh,
about what?
uh, there was a reintegration class when I was getting out about resume writing.
Okay,
And
okay.
the lady's like, hey, you want to be specific, in your job description, all this, you want to be really specific about what your skills are, what you did, and then you put that in there. as infantry, and they're like, no, none of this is good. This is actually really like you want to be more vague, more like don't talk about what you actually did.
Right.
And you're like,
Right.
oh, okay. So that was kind of that first realization that, oh, all this that I was really good at, that was really valued, is now a negative. This is
Mhm.
now a problem, and I need to hide that.
And
And
let me just throw in here one caveat. Okay. I now have physical damage. I can't return to the military to to
yeah,
restart. Yeah. So now, okay, now you've got a double whammy.
mm-hmm, you are absolutely worthless. Is
And
what
you're
goes through
on
your head.
right, right, because you can't do the rah rah anymore. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and if you do, the first thing that comes to mind is I'm putting my fellow soldiers at risk because I'm not 100%.
Right.
Okay, and let's carry that. Let's carry this, Luke, and let's talk about the effect on the family. Okay,
Oh
we
man.
come yeah we come home, and all of a sudden, whatever visions of grandeur we may have had are shattered because the reality is different.
Yeah.
Okay, the reality is different. The reality is, and I'm old fashioned here, but I'm going to use these terms anyway. Mom and the kids have had to function and survive in my absence for the last 6 to 18 to 24 months, whatever the length of the deployment. And they've had to do so successfully without me. They're in a whole different lane now. Okay.
Right.
So I come home, and first of all, my sense of purpose, as you've been talking about, is gone. It's gone. I need to reevaluate. And I don't even have the tools. You know,
Right.
I don't have the tools. So this is going to lead to some severe family dysfunction and isolation because my family doesn't need me. Is one interpretation. They've been getting
Mm-hmm.
along without me, and now I'm a stranger to them, and they're strangers to me. So the next, excuse me, the natural next step would be some depression,
Right.
and that the worthlessness, the uselessness, exactly what you're talking about,
It's reinforcing that.
all that negative self-talk. Um, and I believe this would be an excellent uh, place for you to explain some of your resources to start reversing this and combating this.
Yeah. So as we're talking about purpose there, that's actually been a huge thing with Valorwell that it's helped provide for me personally through this is since we've got out, it's like, man, what am I doing that's worthwhile? What am I doing that's going to be a big thing? And Valorwell has provided that. So yeah, when we started this, it started. Ironically, we did not start this hoping to change the change the world here. We originally just trying to not have to deal with the VA anymore, trying to find a provider that would take that insurance, and then we got to where we realized how big of an issue it was, and then we decided, hey, like we've got all these people across the nation, just like us, that cannot access mental health care. They need it, they can't get to it. So me and my wife decided we're going to start this company, start Valorwell, where we're going to break down all the barriers of access for mental health. So we started our company providing telehealth initially for Camp VA. So we've got therapists all across the nation. We've got patients from coast to coast, and you can get seen from anywhere. There's a lot of great resources out there where people can go if you need to go in person. Hey, you can, but for most people, they just need to be seen. And that's where Valor Well comes in. Everyone's got a phone. Doesn't matter if you're way out in the middle of nowhere and you don't have any mental health therapy available. You've got your phone, you can get on, and we can start seeing you. So that's the benefit of what we're doing, is everyone can get seen. We're also working with community care, getting that registration set up so that we can start actually seeing the veterans as well.
Now, when you say getting seen, Luke, how exactly do you mean this to happen?
What do you mean?
How does someone go about getting seen and
So if they go to our website, valorwell.org,
okay.
they go on there. You can also find us on Facebook, and that all links back to our website. But you go on there, you get registered, and once they register, as long as we've got a therapist available in their state, from registration to getting seen is usually less than a week.
Okay.
So we are priding ourselves on a pretty fast turnaround time, very quick access, because when people need to be seen, they don't have months to wait. They need to be seen right then. So yeah.
You're saying like within a week is typically the turnaround time to be able to. Okay.
Yeah,
And
we've got some people that they can get in a little quicker, and some people, unfortunately, it's been longer. We've got some areas where we're struggling to get enough therapists involved, but overall, and most of that is just we've grown so fast because the need has been.
It's incredible.
Crazy. It really is. It's been. It's crazy to me how many places that are reaching out, needing this. We've got state agencies reaching out. We've got other veterans organizations that have been around for decades that provide pretty much everything else, but they can't figure out how to get mental health access because there's no therapists in the areas that they're at. The VA can't send anyone out, and there's so few people through community care that accept telehealth that they just can't find anyone. And
you and your organization and your wife, we have to include your wife in this, are truly a godsend and an answer to a humongous prayer and problem that's been realized but never approached a solution. And here you are bringing this, and I just want to let you know that what a tremendous resource you are.
And I'll be honest, it's very surreal still to this point. We, I don't know, like I said, when we started this, we were just trying to find care for our kids, and then it turned into something so much bigger. And we have all these places that are reaching out, that are telling us we're going to be the solution for these problems. It's, I don't know. I mean, I am so thrilled that we can be that solution, but it's just crazy to me because I would never see myself as that person, and some random guy from Missouri should not be the solution. They just shouldn't. But yeah, it is. As you point out, like the family, man, how much this stuff impacts families. It's amazing how much we want to think that our trauma, that our struggles are just our own, that we're shielding our family from those.
Right. I'm protecting you by just keeping it to myself. No.
Yeah, but our coping mechanisms, the way we are trained to disconnect, which again is super functional in that environment, but it causes so many problems within the family because you have to have that connection if you want closeness. And yeah, it's just so needed. It really is. And the response we've had, the the couples. I mean, we have a family say that this has literally saved their relationships
Okay.
already, and there's nothing. Talk about purpose. There's nothing more purposeful than that.
No, no. In life, the ultimate is, the family happiness,
Yeah,
and that can become so far out of reach. And yet the resources are available, becoming available. You are huge in bringing this into reality. Uh, and we got to let people know, that you're out here, you're available, what you do and how to access you. Um, and one of the questions we just had from a viewer is, what type of issues would someone be able to contact you for? Um, and we know PTSD, but that's a huge umbrella.
yeah.
What, can we talk
Real,
about that?
really anything. Our therapists they're not just one dimensional dealing with PTSD only. They've all most of our therapists they've all been through a lot of training in PTSD, military specific things. That's something we are really strong about, is making sure they have the right training that's available. But most of them are people who grew up in military families, and they have
Okay.
firsthand experience of those things. We work with kids, so we've got kids as young as I think 5, 6 years old that are being seen, all the way up to spouses, and it doesn't have to be military specific. There's sometimes that it's people that are just like, man, I just need the help dealing with other things, and whatever it is, we're here. We don't take, we don't say, hey, if it's not a military related thing,
Right.
hit the road,
Yeah.
find somewhere
Yeah.
else. Uh, yeah, we take care of everything.
How how large of a demand are you receiving for a situation like, look, I can't seem to connect with my family. I can't seem to allow them in. I can't seem to get close to them. And you have kids that are saying, I can't get
Constantly.
close to my dad, you know, or spouses. My husband, wife is home now, and we just can't connect. It's like, whoa, there's a big wall and we can't seem to get through
There's so much of that. That's
it.
been, we've had a lot of people sign up, and there's been a lot of them that I've spoke to personally on the phone, and I can tell you every person that I talk to on the phone that they're like, man, I just couldn't believe this is even a real thing. We're really struggling. Every, I mean, yeah, 99% of them, 99%, it's a issue of they can't connect, and I'm sitting here listening to it, going, this this is absolutely an issue where it's stemming from someone who does not have the capability to connect on an emotional level. They don't they don't see their purpose. And when we don't see our own purpose, and you see, we're trained to, especially with like Iraq, Afghanistan, where you're dealing with people that, with all the hearts and minds, where we got to be nice to people, and then they're nice to you, but also trying to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
You're trained to, like, hey, I'm going to interact with this person, but I'm going to pay attention to the subtle signs that they're up to something, that they're being fake, trying to hurt me, whatever. And one thing I see a lot, and I've struggled with this myself, is when I don't feel like I have any value, when I feel like I am worthless, and then I've got my wife who's, treating me like I'm a good person, like she actually loves me. And it's very hard to see that. And I think a lot of vets, we end up getting to a point where you're like, huh, why is she acting like she cares about me when there's
Oh
nothing
my.
about me that's worth caring for, when I am absolutely worthless? And then it triggers in your head that, like, oh, it's like, I can't trust her. There's got to be something going on, and you kind of push away. And it takes a long time to get to that point where you realize, like, wow, maybe she actually cares about me as a person, not just what I can do, not just what I can provide. And when you start realizing that, or I guess when you start accepting that you have value outside of that function, it can start changing the dynamic and start allowing that connection. But that takes a lot of work to get there. And I think that a lot of people, they end up in those struggles that stem from that. And they don't know how to, then you got the spouse that thinks it's their fault because they're getting pushed away. And then when they do kind of back away because, all right, I'm being pushed away, and then we're sitting there going, aha, I knew it.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a jacked up cycle. It really is. And for anyone who's in that, I mean, anyone who's watching this, if you feel that at all, like, talk to somebody, like, reach out to us, we can help you, or even just taking that realization that maybe that's what's going on. Maybe this person is just struggling with feeling like they have any purpose, and they are not able to express that, and they're not able to receive that care outside of their purpose, outside of their function. And that's, yeah, that's something I still struggle with a lot.
How do we
So
deal with the collision of the two worlds, Luke? We take everything that you're talking about, and then we put a spin on it that says, if you in the civilian world really knew me, what I've done, you'll never be able to accept me. You'll never be able to get close to me. You'll never want me, like me, love me. And then the other part of that is, but in the military, I'm loved for it.
yeah.
How do we kind of navigate that? And that's probably a 3-day question.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, and that's, I don't know, I think that kind of transcends all groups, not even just military, but where when you have people that are, it's like, man, I was very, very good in this field. Uh, we, yeah, it's like I was good at this. I was really good here. And then I mean, I see it with adults, with parents. It's no different than whenever you have kids and you kind of lose who you are as a person. And eventually you're looking back like, oh wow, like I'm a person too, more than just that function as a parent. Uh, so I think that kind of goes across all realms, and that's so hard to do. But I'd say the best thing is for people. It's not so much for the people around us to realize, hey, this person was really good at what they did. They were very functional, and I think it's more about the veterans feeling that. I know for me, the biggest thing, like most people, they know that. But for me, it was accepting that for myself, accepting that, hey, if I talk about this stuff,
Mhm.
The more you do, the more people will accept. And I realized that I was the one who didn't accept myself a lot more than other people. You know, it was me saying, hey, I don't have any value. But the more that I talked to other people outside the military, opened up to them, the more you start to realize that, wow, we really do have that value and people don't judge us as much as we think.
What do we do? What does someone do with the lingering, I don't know if I would say guilt, uh, the realization that if I tell you as a civilian, uh, I guess for lack of being able to describe it any other way, how proficient I was and the top at what I did, and the fact that I was at the very top of my class. Um, and I relate this to you as a civilian instead of saying, "Hey, that's great. You're gonna want to lock me up. You're gonna want to commit me. You definitely think I have some derangement going on. What what can we tell people that may be going experiencing this? Because that will keep someone stuck, keep someone isolated. Um,
Yeah, that's a really tough one. Um, and to be honest, that's one I don't quite have the answer for.
yeah,
Yeah, that is.
yeah, and that's a very appreciated. Honesty is always like a
Yeah,
validation. Yeah, thank you, Luke. Um,
because yeah, there's so many things that are like there's things I know I can open up to my wife about,
mhm.
uh, talk to her about, and she's gonna accept me and this that. But man, there's a lot of things that hey, you're just most people are not gonna accept it. You know, things that even people in your family that they're like, that's not the
That's
you
not
that
who
I
we
know.
picture you. Yeah, that's not our image of
Right.
you. Yeah,
Yeah. Like
yeah,
I've had people that like people that I was very close to that they would ask and they're like, hey, like what was it? What was it like? And are you struggling with stuff? And when you get to a point where like, well, like I feel pretty comfortable with this person, we've got a pretty good relationship, and then you start to open up like a little bit, and they're like, oh man, I don't want to hear that.
right.
They'll
They're
straight up
not
tell you,
ready. They're
yeah,
not
they'll straight
able.
up tell you like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to think about you struggling with all that stuff.
Right. I want
And
to
it's
come
like, all
play
right, well, I'm just
volleyball.
gonna put it right there in the bottle.
Yeah, I want to come play volleyball with you, but I have no arms. Yeah.
Right. And even just the mental health stuff, man, when it's like, I don't know, the stuff that a lot of times we've gone through, and we're like, there's going to be some people who they're not going to be able to accept it.
Right.
And
Right.
I think the best thing to say is, you know, if you're struggling, first of all, with things that are shameful, things that where you're like, hey, maybe I'm not proud of who I was when I was in. Because sometimes people are overseas, they act in ways that are not ways that they would like anymore. And if that's the case, just realizing, hey, it was a different environment, it was a different place. Uh,
If you want to come home, you'll, there are things that are done that's what's required to get home. And
right,
beyond that, it's like there's no reasoning, there's no understanding. It's just that's what needed to happen.
right. And then as far as finding that value outside of there, for people, it's like, hey, I was really, like I said, top of my team, top of my field, and when you get out, there are things where you can find purpose, where you can find that value and find it in the daily things, in the little things. We often times we look at, hey, like, what am I doing that's serving a purpose? And we think of it as it's got to be huge. It's got to be a big thing.
We got to be a rock star. Yeah.
Right. And man, like, is what I'm doing now going to impact people in other countries? Am I going to, even before Valor, well, am I going to do anything that's going to truly change someone's lives? Maybe not an objective way, but the way that you treat people on a daily basis, the way that you handle yourself, you can change the world in little ways. As corny and as stupid as that sounds, you can do that and you can have that impact on other people without it being something huge.
They're called holy moments. They're called, there's actually a term for it, Luke. They're called holy moments.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah. I was blessed to be able to stumble upon a book that talked about that in detail. And basically, it comes down to each decision we make has the potential to be positive or negative and impact the world accordingly. So each decision has the potential of being a holy moment, where in that holy moment, the decision we make has a profoundly positive effect, not only on ourselves, but radiating out from us. And it's really an impactful book. I have it in another room, but if anyone Googles holy moments, you'll find the way to get to that book. And it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Sounds really good. Well, I think you said it really well there. It's all these little things that eventually add up to something big.
Yeah.
For Valor, well, again, it started off just, hey, we're gonna find a way to provide healthcare, like mental health care for our kids. Then, well, we can do this for a few more people. And then it starts being, oh, hey, can you guys help with the VA disability process? Help people getting through that. Well, yeah, we could do that. And we are doing that. And hey, can you help out with all these other things? And it all started from one little thing, from one little action and decision. And there's so many, every good thing out there started with something little.
Right. What's said is, the way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So when we're looking at making change, for whatever reason, the process, and I'm not educated in this, but I would surmise that the process is one little piece at a time to affect the whole.
Yeah. Well, I think in therapy we see that a lot, where sometimes you have people that think, hey, I went to therapy a couple times and it didn't work.
Right.
And it's kind of like, the old joke about the guy who went to the gym, did his workout, then went to see if his abs arrived, and like, oh, I don't have a six pack, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go home, not work out again because it didn't do anything. It is.
Say stay involved until the miracle happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't
stay in it.
Happens.
And therapy, I think a lot of people that, once they start, if they really give it that shot, and I'll say this as someone who never really believed in therapy. When I was in the service, I was like, this is stupid. I don't need this. And it was amazing once I trusted the process, how much progress I made and how much it improved everything. And after doing therapy for years, it's still a process.
Very, very, very key
Yeah.
process. There's no like magic wand that says, okay, here are the results and you're good to go. You know,
Yeah.
it's a process, and life is a process, and everything in it is a process. And to sometimes realize that and be able to accept it is a challenge. You know,
Right.
we want what we want when we want it. And I'm
Yeah.
guilty as well.
Yeah. It's hard to, you know, to be patient sometimes. Uh, but yeah, I'm so thrilled that what we're doing has been reaching so many people, that it's had such an impact on so many lives, and realizing how much of an impact this is going to continue to have on veterans and families in this country. Because, you know, you think about for mental health, like really there's hasn't been, you talk about technology changing things, and you know, man, therapy has not really changed over the past few years. The access to it, you know,
Okay.
reintegration hasn't changed, but even the access to it has just not. So it's been on us to say, hey, let's go in and take, you know, we've got telehealth options, and there's companies out there who've started doing that, but it's so expensive. And
Now,
oh yeah,
the telehealth options, by saying expensive, what are we talking about? Expense to the veteran and family? What,
yeah,
what name?
yeah. I mean, you think about, for most places, if you're going to go get therapy, it's going to be $100 a session. You're usually, and very few insurances cover it. More are starting to, but it's still a pain in the neck to get them to approve it, or they only approve so much. And ultimately, you're looking at paying, yeah, $100 or more a session for out of pocket costs. I think
And
there's, you know, there's some where you can do it cheaper, but they're not. You're not getting
you
great
kind of get
quality
what
care.
you're looking for, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then what prescriptions, if they're required?
So yeah, and that's a whole different ball game. A lot of places you can get maybe the counseling, but they don't provide the prescriptions. That's something we're
Right.
working on getting set up as well. Right now, we're
Okay.
not there yet, um, but that's something we are trying to get that part all figured out so that we can do med management. Is probably going to start just doing a couple states at a time, but that's a very critical point that we want to be able to get, because a lot of people need that as well. So getting the psychiatry involved, uh, yeah, once we get that figured out, we're going to be, the need is just going to continue to grow. It really is.
Yeah. The need is like insurmountable. And what I'm finding, and I'm sure you'll agree, the more progress we're making, the deeper we're going, the more exposed needs are coming. You know,
Oh,
it's like, yeah,
yeah, absolutely. The more we,
yeah,
yeah, the more we continue to, you know,
yeah,
push the access and make it, because you got so many people that they're like, I'm fine, I don't have
right,
any
right.
problem. But then they hear, you know, the more they start hearing other people doing it, like, oh, that person, like, you start talking to your buddy, and he's like, yeah, I've been seeing this therapist, it's been really helping. You're like, oh, shit, okay, all right. So he's doing it. I've been thinking about doing that,
Yeah.
but now it seems less taboo.
Well, I think, yeah, you're right on point. I was going to bring up the fact that one, the military discourages you from seeking help. You know, exactly what we're talking about with the reintegration process. And then the other is there's still a stigma attached to wanting, needing, reaching out for mental health issues. And I was one of those people very strongly opposed to reaching out, you know, thinking, what am I, weak? You know,
Right.
um, what I discovered after I changed that and did begin to reach out and did begin to work earnestly with just the right therapist, which again, you know, not everyone is right for everyone, and that's just a reality. Part of the process, like you mentioned, is to continue that search. You know, don't
Yeah.
become discouraged with the first or the first 10 therapists that you may not click with. You know, continue. Um, but what I discovered was, you know, healthy people get healthy by reaching out. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know,
We
don't be
can't fix ourselves.
right, right, right. And I guess the point is, hey, you know, let's get past that stigma, that negative impression, that negative connotation, and decide, you know what, if there's some help over there, I need it. I want to save my family. I want to rebuild me. I want to continue my journey in a new and positive direction. I don't want to remain dwelling on what I can't change, um, what's not going to move me forward, you know, what's not going to help my family. Those things are all, they need to be cut. They need to not be the new thought. You know, the new thought needs to be, all right, where do we go from here? How do we get there? Who do I need to talk to? And who can help me on this journey? You know,
Right.
who can help me on this journey? And I have to tell you, I just had a holy moment thought listening to you. And it's like, you are so cutting edge, revolutionary, and filling such a huge need. Um, at some point, I'm going to reach out to you and see if we can't do maybe a monthly situation where we're available, you are available, that we can have answer some questions from some viewers, maybe have some discussion with viewers, you know, live in real time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I can't find a way to let people know fast enough of what you're doing and what resources you have. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, wow. You know, somebody
Well,
gave me the key to Gotham, and I want to give it to everybody. You know.
right. Well, we've had, I will say after our last one, we had a lot of people that came in and signed up
Okay.
shortly after. So it's working. We're getting the word out there. Uh, and it's for all these people that they've been struggling, searching constantly. Valorwell is here.
I'm
Yeah.
going to put right into the comments right now. Valorwell can be reached at, give me an email, Luke.
Info@valorwell.org.
Okay. So you heard that. If you are listening or watching, info at valorworld.org is the way to contact, and or you can look on the comments section in our feeds into Facebook or YouTube and find it there. I just put it in, and we definitely invite you to reach out. Uh, every time Luke and I get together and talk, it seems like we just barely get to scratch the surface. There's so much need, so much depth
Yeah.
in the resources that are being developed that we we could spend days uninterrupted and still not cover it all. Um,
Well, and
and so,
as you point out, the more we talk about it, the more we uncover, the more those needs are going to show up.
yeah, yeah. What's a good phone number, Luke? I'm going to put that into the comments as well.
Yeah, it's 307 414
414.
1355.
Okay, great. We're going to put that out. And if you're listening or watching, feel free to reach out during the show. Uh, reply to the comments, send an email to Luke at Valorwell, or call and let us know you have an immediate need. That's what we're here for. This isn't a dress rehearsal. Um, we're here to help. And as I say to close out every show, remember to please find someone to help. And I want to thank Luke for coming on our show once again. And I can't sing your praises for the work that you and your wife and your staff and team are doing. Um, Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And you're creating holy moments that are just beautiful and will continue to resonate throughout the world. So I invite
Thank
you,
you.
yes, sir. I invite you as listeners and viewers to come back again next Saturday and visit with us on Saturday Morning Live at 11. In the meantime, should you have any needs at all, please reach out to Valor Well, to Luke. And again, it can be reached out. Be reached out. I'm
Need a little
washed,
more coffee.
yeah, I'm washed out. Reach out and touch someone like, oh, okay. Um, Luke can be reached at info@valorwell.org or by phone at 307 414 1359. And you can always reach us here at the studio, Sal at WMRCstudios.com, or feel free to give me a call at 717-743-8769. I'm amazed that I can remember those all the time.
Right.
So
Our
thank you for
repetition.
Luke. Any parting words?
You
I know
know,
I put a lot there just now. I'm sorry.
no, I mean, really, our last thing I say is for anyone out there who's thinking, hey, I've got an idea on how I can make an impact. If you see a need, just go for it. Start working in as little ways as possible and watch it grow. It doesn't have to be something big to start. Just find the need, find your desire, and go for it.
Take the inspiration and run with it.
Yep.
Beautifully said. Well put. For Luke and Valmore, Valor Well. Luke's last name is Predmore, so I kind of I mixed the two.
Me and the company are just integrating as one.
Yeah, the natural next step, right?
Right? Yeah, Valor well.
For Luke and family at Valor Well and everybody here at WMRC Studios, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. And once again, remember, please find someone to help.
Yep. All right. Bye, Sal.